that way and force hits you.
By the way, did you catch punts in high school? I can't remember.
I did do punts in high school.
That's what
I did it one time. I'll tell you right, fast, Skip.
All right, that's fine.
I didn't want to catch punts. And I got to Miami, since we were talking about Jimmy, and Jimmy put me back there, and Melvin Bratton said to me, all you have to do is drop one, Michael. Jimmy, he didn't any mistake.
Yep.
So, right, you don't ever have to do it again. We were playing Rice. And I was like, we're going to beat Rice. We'll beat Rice. And that first punt came, and I did drop that punt.
You dropped it on purpose?
I dropped it. I won't say I dropped it on purpose, but I dropped it. He said I'll never catch it again, and I never did. So that's just my quick story. That was the only time.
All right.
That's the only time.
Yeah, I remember your predecessor at receiver, Butch Johnson. This is going way back in the day. He once caught a big touchdown pass from Roger Staubach in the Denver Super Bowl victory. But Landry used to make him catch punts, and he despised it. He said it was the hardest thing to do in football because you got people bearing down on you at full speed and the wind and maybe some rain.
And you're trying to watch the tail of that ball and which way it spins. That'll tell you which way the ball is dropping. And what he saw, the tail spinning away. When they tell you the tail is spinning away from you, you have to chase it like that. They said, let that go. Let it go because it's a hard ball as it drops. So, yeah, that was a big mistake. But, boy, and I'm telling you, seriously, for him to hold on to that ball once he got his hands on it, because that's force coming with him, that ball pops right back up. That's not a safety. That should have been a touchdown. That should have been a touchdown for Alabama.
He got rocked, and he hung on to your life.
He got rocked. Also, Skip, we were talking about it earlier, Skip. This I thought about, because I remember talking to Hafiz about the game, and I said, man, I wanted Michigan to win, as I told you guys the other day. And I said, man, the only way I see it is if Melrose if Jalen kind of fall back to how he started the season a little bit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then I started, and I said to him, I said, no, I really like that kid's story. And he stood up for himself. I want him to somehow have a good game, but still work it out for Michigan. But I think the layoff was a little too long for him.
It may have been.
He had a good rhythm going. And late in this game, they had a chance to win this game. That throw right here that he missed, and I said, oh, man, those were throws that if you make these throws,
you're right.
They have a chance at kicking that field goal and winning that game in regulation. So, yeah, I felt bad for him in the end. You saw how frustrated he was throwing his helmet at the end, and I felt bad for him.
Okay, and he got sacked 5 times in the first half, which made it disastrous for Alabama.
Right.
Okay, in the end of regulation, I did not think the other quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, was capable under this kind of pressure and this kind of duress from the Alabama defense, which had figured him out in the second half. I did not think he could go 75 yards in 8 plays for a touchdown, which he pulled off. But the key throw came with 2:10 left in that drive. It's a 29-yarder to Roman Wilson. If you remember this, the ball gets tipped at the line of scrimmage. It's too high, and Roman Wilson still is able to rise up. He's not the biggest kid, and snatch it out of the Rose Bowl Pasadena sky. This ball is tipped at the line and goes up. And that's the play of the game for Michigan, because that sets them up in business inside the 5-yard line, and they cash that in on a little pop pass. So the point is, now I thought maybe Harbaugh might even go for 2 at that point, but he went ahead and took the point. So now we're going to overtime, and I still doubted that J.J. McCarthy could settle himself down enough to make enough plays to outplay Jalen Milroe in overtime, but it didn't matter about J.J. McCarthy, because if we could see the 2 carries in overtime by Blake Corum, he is a small man with a big heart, and he is hard to get on the ground. The first carry, he bounces it out to the right and escapes a couple tackles and makes 8 yards.
Man.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm telling you, you said great following his blockers right here.
He is.
And I thought, what they tell you in 2-minute drills and games like this, get that first down.
Yeah.
If you get the first down, everything settles down. So my thought here was, oh, okay, that's a good first play, 8 yards. You get this first down. This may work out.
Yeah.
And then the next play, it was. Whew.
Yeah. And Michael, does he remind you at all just a little bit of Emmett, where he can duck and dart behind big offensive linemen? It's just hard to find him before he, skitters upfield. Is there any Emmett going on there?
In hitting balance, in hit what I call hitting balance.
Yeah.
That touchdown play when he run, that's hit. Emmett would do that all. It's his hit balance. One person would hit him this way, he'll balance back up, get hit back that way, and spin right on in the end zone. I've seen him do that many a time.
And what a great run this is. And I thought he was down at the 3, but it's a neck tackle, and he spins out of it. He's got quick feet.
Right.
He has got what, Norv Turner used to say about Emmett, he's got such great quickness in a confined space. So does this kid. I'm not saying he's Emmitt Smith, but he's got some similarities. Some similarities.
And I think it's so funny because you see Emmett don't like he's running that fast, moving up the field, but he does have quick feet in those small areas, man. Let me tell you something. That drive that Michigan made in those plays that you just showed in overtime, this was a team that made up their mind. They're not losing that football game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what you talk about. That pass, that big play. This was a team that came together, and I thought usually you're going into overtime. They won't hold up in overtime.
Agreed.
They were the fresher team. They were the team that was more ready to say, let's keep battling. So I said to myself, this team's not losing.
Yep. Okay, so now we get to Alabama's final possession. They got to match 7 to keep the game going in overtime, to get it to double overtime. And it comes down to 4th and goal at the 3-yard line. And each team, there are 2 timeouts called, one by Michigan, one by Alabama, as they're playing chess back and forth. And Coach Saban said after the game that they actually changed the play 3 times with each timeout. Timeout change, and then they change again. So it's 3 different ideas. He would not say what the first 2 ideas were, the concepts. But you know what happened on 4th and goal from the 3. I was virtually certain it was going to be Jalen Milroe running. I didn't know if he'd roll out and do run-pass option. But the snap is low. Maybe it blew the timing of the play. Maybe he didn't get off, out of the blocks quite on time.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there, that block where we got 65 knocked back into Milroe's right there. Yep. That's what, Skip, that's what they're talking about when they say you got to move this line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And they moved that line of scrimmage. They reset it. And that's surprising to see Alabama get handled like that on the line of scrimmage.
They got handled. And, Michael, to me, that was, I know these are just kids, but that was a manhood play. That was just strength on strength. It was will on will. And one thing I love about Jalen Milroe, his height and weight are not listed at that. He doesn't, he's like 6'2", 215, but he runs like he's 240 to me. And he runs with incredible acceleration and incredible power and incredible will. So I can't hate the idea of putting the game in Jalen's hands, but it was such a simple play. It's just, Jalen, run it down their throats. There's no flash and dash to it. There's no whipped cream to it. There's nothing cute about it. It's just, Jalen, take it and run straight up the gut. And what Saban said after the game was, we thought they were going to sort of all-out blitz. We thought they were going to pressure from everywhere and that we could hit a gap. So Jalen was supposed to look for the gap and split potential blitzers and try to get 2, 3. Like, if you hit a gap, you're going to score. But obviously, he just ran right into a big blue stone wall in the middle of the field, and he went nowhere fast. So, Michael, was there any, did you sit back and say, gee, should you have tried to do something a little more deceptive, a little more tricky? Is there a Tim Tebow jump pass in the repertoire where you take it and, look like you're going to run with it and jump at the last second and pop it to one of your wideouts? Is there a sprint right option, which is a run pass option, where you roll him out and let him have the option?
And that's what I would have wanted, Skip. That's
Okay.
that's what I thought you'd have tried. Because listen, we just talked about how this had been a trench battle. This had been a trench battle. Alabama's usually dominating the trenches, and this had been a battle.
Yeah.
I am not going to just, for the whole game, everything's on the line right here, just run him in right up into that whole battle. This is, like you said, this kid can move. I'm going to get him outside, and even, in some kind of way, I wanted to get him outside. I wanted to get him on a sprint option, like you say, to give me two options. To give me somebody short, somebody deep, and his ability to run.
Agreed.
And his ability to run. I'll sprint the first man out with him running wide, then I'll send a back man to the back end zone, and the other man coming across late with him sprinting to one side, man. I just want to have all those options on that play.
Agreed.
Because if it don't work, you put the ball in the end zone and give them a chance to make a play. But that play right there, I was shocked that they ran that play.
All right. So in the end, remember what Jim Harbaugh said just before the game on ESPN, that he could not remember a game he had coached in which he believed going in that it would be won and lost in the trenches like this one. To your point, this is strength on strength. Who is going to be the mentally and physically tougher team in the interior offensive, defensive lines? And I think Michigan finally asserted its will. And by the way, that kid who's from out here in Orange County, that Mason Graham from Michigan, he was just unblockable. I got to tell you.
The defensive player of the game.
He was.
That defensive player of the game. He was insanely incredible. 55. Now, and also, you know
That's
what?
exactly
I heard
right.
Jenkins. Right, I heard Jenkins talking about it too. And Jenkins said, which I told you guys shocked me. He was like, listen, we knew right away when we made that first hit. He says, you can tell if somebody's in for the fight all day.
Yeah.
And I was like, boy, that's Alabama. Stop playing. Boy, you up there talking noise now. That's Alabama. Alabama's always in